60 Minutes, Rewind.
Anyone under a certain age will cringe when I say this, but around CBS, believe it or not, I have the reputation of being a flashy dresser. My colleague, Mike Wallace, whom I regard as the house square when it comes to clothes, note the earnest gray suit and the careful button-down, is a man who will never be accused of being daring in his clothes. But squarer still, if you can imagine it, is CBS News correspondent Hughes Rudd, whom we asked to look into the new world of men's fashion.
That gabby 18th century Englishman, Lord Chesterfield, once told his son that he should always distrust any enterprise which requires new clothes. Well, if Lord Chesterfield should suddenly appear in a men's boutique today, he'd probably be strangled with a wide necktie. The garment people are striving mightily to convince us that every enterprise requires new clothes because they think there's a new American man. Fashion shows for the trade in New York are no longer big on good gray flannel or black knit ties. The wave of the future is made out of much finer stuff. Now, all of this might strike some people as pretty frivolous, but Americans have never felt very frivolous about money, and that's what this is all about, really. Money, lots of money. The men's clothing industry amounts to some $20 billion a year, in spite of the fact that the dictionary says that clothing is just something worn to keep warm or for decency's sake. It's not just money, of course. American men are simply not quite the way they were before American women got the vote. The new look started with hair. Older men saw younger men wearing page boy bobs and copied them. Today, American men are even buying false long hair, some $200 million worth of hair pieces and wigs every year. And the odds are, if you're the sort of fellow who buys wigs and wild clothing, you don't go to a barber anymore, you go to a hair stylist. Getting your hair cut costs $2 or $3. Getting your hair styled may involve getting a small bank loan. Well, suspicious types look upon all this peacock behavior and ask themselves who or what's behind it. Or, in fact, is it simply one of those large, inevitable social changes, part of that revolution we keep hearing about? A man who should know the answers is Robert Greene, the fashion director of Playboy magazine, and a fellow who really knows where it's at, according to the trade.
May I show you some of the things that operate? Now, here you have Ralph Lauren, young designer. Started with doing wide ties, moved on to the total look of clothes. The whole outfit is designed to have no jacket whatsoever. It has to do with the kind of people in the world who need the coat to get to wherever they're going, have no need for a jacket, they're going into a building. You take off the tie, and the shirt has been designed so that it functions related to what we know as the sports shirt. May I tell you that...
Now, my God, just a minute.
Okay, exactly. Now, we set this fashion sequence up directly because hoping that you'd have this reaction.
Well, it looks like the sort of thing Ruby Keeler used to wear.
As a matter of fact, you're absolutely right. Now, do remember that fashion influences have to come from somewhere. Designer is Stephen Burrows. What he's saying is, I want to get something which has the feel and the beat of my generation, who are interested in loud sounds. Doesn't mean that's the only thing they're going to wear, but that is something that they will enjoy wearing. It is fun clothing. This is by McGregor. Big, enormous company. This is beautifully designed. It is knit. It's, the belt becomes something, and that's very important to understand. The belt becomes something which is simply jewelry in the minds of the young. We thought of belts as something that held your pants up, you see. They think of them as accessories that are very much like jewelry. That's a snakeskin belt. Here are some other belts. You can look, John White's has done some belts in two different directions. Bill Blass is doing belts. The whole feeling is that you do something which it has to be worn outside to be seen as part of the whole fashion picture. All right, Hughes, what is your reaction to this?
Well, it vibrates.
What Bill Blass has done with this is to take a jacket silhouette, which is absolutely acceptable to anybody, done it in a fabric, corduroy, which is certainly acceptable to anyone, and he's taken from this whole sense of liberation a new relationship of color. The color is raspberry. The trousers are peach. The shirt is a linen shirt. That's technological improvement, but in a pale blue. I think all it means, basically, as far as clothing is concerned, is we all want to look as nice as we possibly can, and we may have roles that we want to play. We may want to look as rich as we possibly can, as young as we possibly can, as successful, as fat as we can, or as thin as we can. More and more men may leave their jobs wearing a given look, but automatically and immediately change into something entirely different. There are more weekend swingers than you can possibly imagine.